What is up, people? Welcome back to Blue Chip Prospect for another podcast. I was going to say another scouting report, but no, again, it's a podcast, not a scouting report. I thought that today would be a good idea to just go through all the different rebuilds in the NHL and just evaluate where they are and where they are going and what's coming up in the next couple years with their prospect and where they are in terms of picks too, and what they could maybe take in the draft this year. It's an exercise that I already did for myself. I have about 1 million lines of notes that I have on my other screen just to try to keep like a flow if we want, but I'm gonna get so lost within this because there's so much things that are written on my screen that it's impossible for me to follow and keep it clean. But it's gonna be what it's gonna be. I'm not a pro podcaster. I just do this for fun, so you guys can follow me within this or not. All right. So yeah, the way I thought I was gonna do this is I was gonna take every team that are in a rebuild, and I was going to evaluate their top 6, evaluate their top 4, and their depth, and their goalies. So that's what they have at the NHL level. And then we take a look at what's coming up as forward prospect, defensive prospect. And from that, we can build a conclusion of where they are, where they're going. Are they stuck somewhere? What do they need? Or something like that. All right. And the first team that I wanted to start this with is the Buffalo Sabres. And since I have a lot of notes on my screen, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to follow my screen and on Cap Friendly at the same time, because we can go in their depth chart tool and see basically everybody who's on the team and everybody who's in the pipeline also. So it's gonna help me, and it's also maybe gonna help you. I'm gonna try to figure out a way to do this without being too slow and too lost, but I'm telling you that's gonna be hard. Anyways, Buffalo Sabres, their top 6 is actually one of the best top 6 of every team that are rebuilding. They have let me go up with the page. They have JJ Peterka, they have Tage Thompson, Alex Tuch, Dylan Cousin, Jack Quinn, Jeff Skinner. Those are all players that can play in the top 6 of basically any team, right? They're just good players, or they're at least on their way to a top 6. Like Jack Quinn, he played 27 games this year. He had 19 points, so it's a good production for the amount of games that he played. He played around 15 minutes, so he's maybe not a top 6 right now, but he's definitely on his way to be top 6. So that's why I just put him in the top 6. In terms of top 4, they have Rasmus Dahlin, they have Bowen Byram, they have Owen Powers, and they have Matthias Samuelsson. So their top 4 is set, and it's looking really good actually. When you take a look at that top 6 and that top 4, it's a bit hard to understand how they finished 22nd. I think it's 22nd. Let me just go look. I put it here. Yeah, Buffalo Sabres 22nd. So it's a bit hard to believe that they actually finished 22nd in the league with that type of top 6 and top 4. Is it a coaching problem? Is it a goaltending problem? I'm not sure. I don't think it's a goaltending problem, because their goalie Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is top 15 in stats in the NHL. So I mean, it's definitely not a goalie problem, so probably a coach problem. Yeah, all right. So anyway, what they have coming in the lineup, I'm just going to put back that page here. I'm also just going to make sure it's recording. Yeah, it's recording. I'm also going to make sure the screen is recording. The screen is recording. All right, good. Let's keep this going. So, like I said, in terms of goalie, they have Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. They also have Devon Levi, who had a rough season in the NHL and is a bit on the smaller side, but he had I think a top 5 AHL season, so really not bad. And their depth, they don't have much depth on the team, but Greenway and Gergensen are players that are really not too bad. I like Greenway. I think a big guy like that, that's physical like that, I think it's a good player to have in your bottom 6. But yeah, that's about it for the depth. I think that's where they need more talent. They need players to be able to play at a higher level within that bottom 6. So if we take a look at what's coming up in the pipeline, let me go down with my page. At the forward prospect, they have obviously Zach Benson, who's probably already maybe he's not top 6 right now, but he's definitely on his way to top 6, and it's almost like a sure thing that he's going to be a top 6. They have Isaac Rosen, they have Noah Husland, they have Matt Savoie, Yuri Kulich, Anton Wahlberg. So they have a lot of stuff coming up. Like, I think, like, I would bet on Yuri Kulich and Zach Benson to be top 6 player who will be able to just fit in no problem. But other players like Noah Husland, Isaac Rosen, Matt Savoie, and Anton Wahlberg, especially take out maybe Matt Savoie out of there. I think they're all pretty much destined for a bottom 6. Maybe middle 6. Matt Savoie probably middle 6, maybe top 6. So they have a lot of players coming in. They don't have a lot of big players coming in. It's pretty much all on the smaller side, if you'd like, but at the same time, in their top 6, they already have Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck and Dylan Cousin that are bigger player. So it's a good mix of speed and skill and size, but I think they would need probably to pick a little bit more on the size side with this draft to try to add more physicality and just more size within that middle 6 or that bottom 6 in the end. On the defensive part of the game, they have Maxim Sturback and they have Nikita Novikov. Like, basically their defensemen are at the NHL level. They're not in the pipeline, because those two players, in my opinion, they are like looking like future maybe third pair defensemen. They don't look like they're future top 4. I don't think there's anything telling us that they're going to be top 4 defensemen. But in the end, their top 4 is already so strong. Like I said, again, with Owen Powers, Byron Byram, Dallin, and Samuelson, that they just need to have like good players who can move the puck forward, who skates well, defend well on the third pair, and that's about it. And that's basically what Maxim Sturback and Novikov can provide. So, in conclusion, I think they're pretty close to getting to the playoff. Like, I think like everybody else, I've been saying like they're getting in the playoff next year for like 3 years or something like that. Now they traded one of their best offensive player in Middlestat for Bowen Byram. I prefer Bowen Byram over Middlestat. I feel like maybe they needed more Middlestat than Bowen Byram. so I don't know. Like, who's gonna be on their power play? Like, they already have Dallin. Powers is not a good, so I guess they're gonna have like one wave with Dallin and one wave with Bowen Byram. I guess that's what it's gonna be. But anyways, that's gonna be on them to figure it out. I think they probably have a coaching problem. Didn't they fire actually their coach? I haven't kept up with that, but I think they just fired their coach. So maybe I think that is. So yeah, I guess they had a coaching problem, because with that top 4 and that top 6, you should be at least fighting for a playoff spot until the end. Like, if you can't fight for a playoff spot until the last game with that type of team, I don't know. It's like there's no hope for the Montreal Canadiens, and there's no hope for anybody else. There's no hope for San Jose or Chicago or anything like that, because they have such a great team already that like they should be fighting, like I was saying. Anyways, like I said, nice mix of speed, nice mix of size. They probably, like I said, probably need to pick a little bit more on the size side of the draft, so they can fill up that bottom 6 with bigger players. But overall, they're on their way to greatness, in my opinion. But I say that every year. It's just when I look at all those players, I feel like they should be right there, but they're never right there. So I don't know. We'll see. But it's a good rebuild. But it's been more than a decade, so it's obvious at the same time. So next team is Anaheim. Let me just okay, Anaheim there, and I'm gonna change the page here, put Anaheim here. All right, so same thing for the top 6 for Anaheim. They have Leo Carson, who's already playing like a top 6 player. Like, it's just so good. Then they have Trevor Zegras, they have Troy Terry, and they have Mason McTavish. And I would also put Alex Killorn in there. I think he's a top 6 player. He's a complimentary top 6 player, but he's a guy that if you put him with players like Trevor Zegras and Troy Terry, something like that, he's the guy that can get the puck deep. He's the guy that can go in front of the net and battle for the puck everywhere on the ice. So he's a very valuable player that will not give you that much in terms of production. Like he had 36 points in 63 games. It's a little bit low for him because usually if we take a look at his stats here, yeah, you see like last year he had 64 points, but that's on Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay is a different beast. But 59 the year before. So he's always like a 20 plus goal scorer most of the time. So I would expect him to go back there if he plays with better player maybe. I don't know. I don't know why he just had 36 points. But in the end, I consider him a top 6 player, just a complimentary top 6 player. So overall, top 6 of Leo Carlsson, Trevor Zegras, Troy Terry, Mason McTavish, and Alex Killorn is not a bad top 6. It's very young, it's very fresh, so it's gonna take some time for those players to, how can I say that, like, not adapt to the NHL, but teams that win usually are teams that are a little bit on the older side. They understand the NHL, they understand the grind of an 82 game season and the playoff and all this stuff. So they have more character. They're just what it is when you grow up, right? So at some point they will get there, but the top 6 right now is looking good. The top 4 of Cam Fowler, Jackson Lacombe, who I think was really good this season, and Pavel Mintyukov. It's not the best top 4. Like if you compare that to Buffalo we just did with Dahlin and Powers, and obviously it's way below that. Their best player in there is by far Pavel Mintyukov, but they have a little bit coming up, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just go down. Yeah, they have a little bit coming up. So it's funny, man, because before I did this for myself, I thought that Anaheim probably had the best defensive prospect pool, and they don't. They don't. I really feel like Pavel Mintyukov is a strong player. He's going to be a first pair defenseman, in my opinion, that can play on both sides of the puck with ease. Like he's going to be physical. He skates well. He's very good offensively, very good defensively. There's work to be done. There's progress to be made, but he's going to get there. I'm sure that he's going to be a star in this league. But if you couple that with Jackson Lacombe, who's pretty good, and some that are coming like Olen Zellweger, Tristan Luneau, who both have a chance to be top 4 defensemen, it's looking good, but it's not looking great. Like it's not Buffalo. It's not. Yeah, no, you know where I'm going, right? So, outside of that, the depth, I like Frank Vetrano. I think he's a little bit overachieving this season. Where is he here in this page? Frank Vetrano, who had 60 points, 37 games. But if we take a look at his history, it's not that. He had 41 points last season, and then 13, 19, 26, 34. So he's not a 60-point player, and he's certainly not a 40-goal scorer or 37-goal scorer, but he's definitely a guy that you can slot in on your top 6 or your middle 6, and he's going to give you a lot. Same thing for Ryan Strome. They have Brett Leeson, who's coming up, but not coming up. He's 24 years old, but still, he had 22 points in 68 games. And Radko Gudas, who's a physical, just mean and bad. He's not great, but he's a guy that you don't mind having on your team, right? Because he's just a dangerous player overall. And Jacob Silverberg, who hasn't been good at all. Like not even 20 points in 21 games. I'm just gonna take a look here. Last year wasn't great either. Okay, maybe he's just bad now. I don't know. He used to be good, but I haven't followed him up that much. But anyway, maybe he shouldn't be in the depth as a player to forget, maybe something like that. But in terms of goalies, they have John Gibson, who's just a great goalie. He's playing on a bad team, so he's having a hard time, but he's still a great goalie. And they have Luka Donstol coming up. I think goalie wise, they are set. And in the pipeline, do they have anybody that have? Yeah, they have Damien Clara, who had a top 10 or top 5 season in the Hockey Allsvenskan or whatever you say that league. I never know how to say that right, but yeah. So anyway, John Gibson, Luka Donstol, and Damien Clara, I think they're set for their goalies, unless they decide to trade John Gibson. But I don't know. I feel like I would keep him. In the forward prospect to fill up their top six, they have Cutter Gauthier coming up. They have Nathan Gaucher. They have Sam Colangelo, Sasha Pastuchov, Niko Majerovic, Carey Terrence, and Yegor Sidorov. So not too bad. And I would say like Cutter Gauthier, there's a chance that guy's going to be a star. I'm not sure I'm there, me personally, but there's a chance he's going to be there. But he's for sure top six player. Is he going to be on the wing? Is he going to be at center? We'll see how it goes in the NHL. But a hard shot player with a big body that plays physical, that plays in the middle of the ice. Obviously, they're going to like that. Same thing with Nathan Gaucher, but with a lot less skills than Cutter Gauthier. So basically, everybody outside of Cutter Gauthier are looking like future bottom six, maybe like Carey Terrence, maybe middle six, but I don't think Nathan Gaucher or Colangelo or Pastuchov or even Majerovic are going to be future middle six or top six player. I don't think they have the skills for that. Maybe they could be as complementary player, but if I had to bet on one, I would bet on Carey Terrence at that point. So yeah, not too bad. And on the defense prospect, like I was saying earlier, they have Olen Zellweger, who's small, but he's an extremely good player and extremely good offensively. Tristan Luneau, who's much bigger, very good offensively, also maybe a little bit more lost defensively, but there's work to be done, and he will do the work, I'm sure, because he's already so much better than he was the year he was drafted. It was not looking good, but now he looks good. Noah Warren, Tyson Hines, so like I would say, Olen Zellweger and Tristan Luneau are probably second pair defensemen. Maybe Olen Zellweger is a power play specialist in the future with time on the second line. I don't think he's a first line defenseman. We'll see. I have the same type of projection for Olen Zellweger that I have for Lane Hudson, so we'll see how it goes. Noah Warren and Tyson Hines, I think they're more like third pair player, but if you can have players like that on your third pair, it's pretty good. Because if I'm not mistaken, like Warren is super big. Where is Warren here? Warren. I don't find him, so it is what it is. But anyway, I think they're. Oh yeah, Noah Warren. Yeah, 6'4". So if you can have like big players that are, and he's a mobile player, so if you can have big players that are mobile that can move the puck cleanly enough. On your third pair, it's pretty good, but with Tristan Luneau, Olen Zellweger, Pavel Mintyukov, right now they also have Fowler and Jackson Lacombe. They're going to have a solid top four, but I feel like the fact that they traded Drysdale, which obviously was the right move to do because Cutter Gauthier has a lot more potential than Drysdale in my opinion. But I think that maybe they need to go for a defenseman, like another defenseman that's going to be like as good as Mintyukov. Like you can have a very solid defensive core, a bit like Buffalo if you draft another high-end defenseman, and they're well placed to do it. They're going to be picking maybe number one. If they're number one, obviously they're going to go with Celebrini, but if they're number 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, I think a defenseman is not a bad thing to do, especially since they're right shot defensemen. Anyways, that's it. So Anaheim, this year they have 2 firsts, I think. Let me just, if I go back here, 2 firsts. They have their own. They have the Oilers. They have 2 seconds. They have 3 thirds. So a lot of picks to, fill the cupboard even more, and high top picks. I first round picks, so that's gonna be pretty good. So they're on their way. I think they're still pretty far from it because everybody on the team is pretty young except for the defense, maybe not like with Cam Fowler, but outside of that, when you look at Leo Carson was his first year in the NHL, Mason McTavish was his second, I think. Trevor Zegras is a little bit older, but he's still considered a young player. It's the same group here as Cole Caulfield, and Cole Caulfield, I consider him a young player. So they need experience, they need time, and so overall, not a bad place to be. They have a lot coming up, and they have a good group at the NHL level, but I don't think they're there yet. They're not like at the same place as Buffalo. Buffalo is way in advance, in my opinion. So if we go to the next one, and the next one is Arizona. Let me just open the page. Arizona. So what do they have? But Arizona or Utah, obviously, now that it's official and they're gone. Top 6 forward, Clayton Keller, who's just as dynamic as they come. Nick Schmaltz, Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunther, Matias Maccelli. Maybe you can slot in Lawson Cruz in there. Like, he's not the most talented player. He's definitely not a driver. Okay, he's not the guy making plays for other on his line, that's for sure. But you put him in a top 6, and he, like, this year he played and he had 42 points. So 42 points, 23 goals in 81 game. It's not the greatest production for a guy that is playing, but he's playing 16 minutes, so it's pretty good in my opinion. So yeah, forget what I said. I think he's a top 6 player, but just not a player that will drive. And he's a big guy, so you can have him in your top 6, and he's just gonna be getting the puck deep, and he's gonna play along the wall, and he's just gonna protect the puck, waiting for a place to open. So a good guy to have there. In their top 4 as defensemen, they have Sean Durzi, maybe JJ Moser. So I don't know. It's not great. Like Moser, he played 20 minutes a night. He had 26 points in 80 games, and Durzi 41 points in 76 games, playing 22 minutes a night. So I think Durzi's the top 4. I'm not sure for JJ Moser, but one way or another, that's what they have right now. It's not more than that. In terms of depth, I kind of like the fact that they have Jack McBain in there. They have Alex Kerfoot, Barrett Hayton, Nick Justad. Are they all going to be there when they start being good? Probably not. Like Kerfoot and Justad are probably going to be gone. Like where's Nick Justad? Why is he not there? Oh, yeah, he's there. Next year is UFA. So, and he's going to be 32, 33 maybe by the end of the year. I don't know. Not 32. So, yeah, I don't think, I'm not sure if he's going to come back, but one way or another, I think he's a good complementary player in the bottom 6. And when you pair that with Jack McBain, Barrett Hayton, and Alex Kerfoot, it's a pretty good depth. Goalies, Connor Agram and Vejmelka, or whatever his name. It's just meh. There's nothing great there. It's not fantastic. It's not looking great. So, yeah, it is what it is. In terms of forward prospect, it's not fantastic, man. They have Josh Doan, who's been good. Like he played in the NHL. How many points did he had? He had 9 points in 11 games. So obviously that's not the type of production that anybody expect from him. If we take a look at the history, he had 46 points in 62 games for the Roadrunners. Was barely a point per game in the NCAA, playing for Arizona State. So yeah, I don't think he's gonna be that type of player who has 9 points, like 1 point, I don't know, like a point every 2 games maybe would be ceiling, not a 9 in 11. But anyways, not a bad player to have in your forward prospect. Akurati, same thing. Connor Geeky, Daniel Booth, Sam Limpkin. Connor Geeky, I don't know. I know there's some people that like him. I think he's a middle 6 type of player. I don't like a guy that can play on your third line. It's probably better slotted on your third line, but that can actually play on your top 6. The thing is that the feet are not good. I've seen people say that it's just the fact that he has a long stride and he looks slow like big players, but I don't think that's true at all, because there are players with long stride that are big player that look much faster. So Connor Geeky, he has skills, he has vision, he has everything to succeed except for the feet, in my opinion. So I think he's more going to be like a middle 6 player. Daniel Booth, if there's one player in there that has a chance to be a future top 6 player, I think it's Daniel Booth. He's not the fastest, but he has some skills. He has a hard shot. He's very big. He can protect the puck with the best of them. So again, not a driver player, but they have the driver. Like Clayton Keller is going to be a driver. Logan Cooley is going to be a driver. Matias Maccelli is not going to be the guy that's going to go get the puck deep in the zone and try to protect it to make plays, but he can at least, like, he's such a good playmaker and such a good passer that I think that you pair a guy like Daniel Booth with him and he's going to make it work. Okay, just that Daniel Booth is probably not going to be the guy who's going to be driving the offense and creating space for the other with his mind, more with his body. Same thing with Sam Lipkin. I think he's a middle six player. He's not bad. It's not great. In the defense part of prospects, they have Dmitry Semishev, who was it's a guy that I have super high. I still have him high, just not as high. But I really, really liked him last season. Even in the summer, I made a top 10 video of defensemen, and I had him, I think, number 3 or number 4, something like that, because I like him a lot. I think a guy that is like, what is he, 6'6" or something like that? I'm pretty sure if we go down here, we can find him. Simishev, 6'4". Okay, I thought he was bigger than that, but doesn't matter. 6'4" and skates like he can skate. Like, everybody's talking about the defenseman, the Russian defenseman in this draft, was 6'6" and can skate like the wind. I think Simishev's an even better skater than what's his name? I just forgot his name. Every time I do a podcast, I forget everybody's name. But anyway, doesn't matter. I think he's a better prospect than that guy that's going to be picked in the top 10 this year. But one way or another, I like him. I think he has what it takes to be a first pair defenseman, just maybe more closer to a stay-at-home, but with a little bit of a two-way game. But he's a guy that will be able to excel in the transition, so that's going to help. Artem Duda, weird path for him, because I think he's playing in a Canadian university right now, something like that, which is really weird path, but it is what it is. Maverick Lamoureux, another big guy with some skills and some and good speed. He's not a great skater like Dmitry Semishev, but he's a good skater. And Victor Soderstrom, for who it's not looking great. There's no other way to put it. It's just not looking great. He's what, 23 or something like that now? If I go into minors, defense, it's too complicated to find those players on this page. Anyway, can't find him. But Victor Soderstrom, like, I put him there because he was a pretty high pick in his respective draft year, but I wouldn't expect much more than a third pair defenseman. Like, I don't think there's anything more than that. But Maverick Lamoureux and Dmitry Semishev, they both have the potential to be playing in the top 4. So they could like, if you add to Sean Durzi, like, they would have like 2 or 3 players that could be top 4 players. So obviously, I think all this to say that in the end, Arizona, they need so much. They need a lot in their top 6. I think they need a lot in the top in their top 4. They have a good goalie prospect in Michael Rabral and also Melker Tellin, who's been pretty good. But in the end, there's work, man. There's a lot of work, but I think they have the depth kind of figured out with players like Jack McBain and Barrett Hayton and, those players. But they're going to need to have more size up front, at least in their top 6, because Clayton Keller is not a big guy. Logan Cooley is not a big guy. Dylan Gunter is bigger. He's 6'1" or 6'2", but he has no idea how to play with physicality. So it's not like he just looks big. He's not big. And Matthias Machelli is another one who's not big. So they're gonna need to have players that are big and talented to play in their top 6 to be able to compete for an 82 game season and also in the playoff. And they're gonna need also a lot of work for their defensemen, because Sean Durzi, Maverick Lamoureux, and Dmitry Semishev is probably not going to be enough to build a strong top 4 that can defend well at the NHL level and win games in the playoff. All right, so that's about what I think. A lot of work to do, but at least they're doing it. Next team is Ottawa, the Senator. Let me open the page again. And them, it's a bit weird. The thing is, they have one of the poorest prospect pool, but the team itself is looking good, but at the same time not looking good. So let me explain myself. In the top 6, they have Brady Tkachuk. They have, I think, Shane Pinto is a top 6 player all day, every day. Drake Batherson, Claude Giroux, Tim Stützle, Josh Norris. Now the problem with that is that Claude Giroux is, what, Come here. Claude Giroux is 36 years old. He's a UFA next year. Like, he's not going to be a top 6 player forever, right? So, there's not that much time left to his game. Then Josh Norris, who's a good player. Like, he can score a lot of goals. But I think he had, his third surgery on the shoulder? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know if it's different shoulders. Like, but from what I've heard, I didn't do the research, but I think that from what I've heard, he's having his third surgery on the same shoulder. If that's the case, that's very problematic, because the guy is making $8 million a year until 2030. And it's going to be rough for him to come back and be able to compete at that level with 3 surgeries on his shoulder. But if we hope for the best, he's a top 6 player all day, every day. He's really good. Get into that bumper space and just shoot the puck, and he can do that very, very well. And so does Shane Pinto. Really like that guy. But anyway, Brady Tkachuk's a star. Tim Stützle's a star. Drake Batherson is not a star, but he's a good player who can fly at 6'3" and produce a lot of points. Yeah, I think the top 6 is really good. It's just a question that, like, let's say they have 4 solid pieces, right? With Tim Stützle, Drake Batherson, Shane Pinto, and Brady Tkachuk. Those are 4 solid pieces. Josh Norris, will he be able to compete in the top 6 level and play like 19 minutes a night or something like that with the physicality of the NHL? I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And Claude Giroux, well, he's going to be gone soon enough, like in a year. Maybe they resign him, but at that point he's going to be 37, 38, so it's not like he's going to be a 60, 70 point player for the rest of his life. It's going to drop at some point. In the top 4 of the defense, I think Jake Sanderson is going to be a star. I really, really like that guy. I think he's one of the best young defensemen in the NHL. They have Artem Zub, who's underrated. He's really, really good. Thomas Chabot and Jacob Chikrin. If I'm not mistaken, they're all left shoot. Yeah, it's written here. So, no, Artem Zub is a right shot, but all their high-end defensemen, like Jake Sanderson, Jacob Chikrin, and Thomas Chabot, they're left shot. So they probably need a right shot defenseman that's high-end too. But overall, I mean, it's a great top 4. But the same thing here is that Jacob Chikrin is... he's 26 years old, he's 6'2", but he has only 1 more year on his contract. And the thing is that next year, if Ottawa is competing for a playoff spot, which they probably should, they have the team to be able to compete if the goalie does the job and if the coach does the job. But, like, I don't know. I don't know. It's just like they can't trade the guy if they're competing. Like, what kind of message does that send if you're like, they missed the playoff for 6 or 7 years or something like that? Like, what if you're at the trade deadline, you're there and you're competing for a playoff, or you're in a wild card spot? Are you gonna trade Jacob Chikrin? Most likely not. So you're going to keep him, and then you're probably going to lose him at the end. Or maybe he resigns. I don't know if the guy has intentions to resign. But if he doesn't, then your top 4 becomes weaker in a year from now, because he's a very, very solid player. But if you can't replace him because you're chasing a playoff spot and the guy decided to not resign, then you're a little bit in a pickle. So, all right. In terms of depth, Ridley Gregg, Joseph Mathieu, both... 2 good players. I think Joseph Mathieu is a bottom 6, like nothing more than that. And Ridley Gregg could be a middle 6 type of player. I don't think he's a top 6. I really don't. But I think he's a guy that you slot on a third line or can play on the second line if you need him to. But you'd rather have him on the third line as much as possible. In terms of goalies, it's bad. Korpisalo hasn't been good. Same thing for Arten Forsberg. He hasn't been good. Like, both, if you took a look at the stats, both have 890 and 3.2 goals against average. So yeah, like I said, it's bad. There's no other way around it. And that's where it gets a little bit special for Ottawa, because they traded so much of their pick for, like, DeBrincat, or all the things that they tried to do to accelerate their rebuild. They traded like high picks in the top 10, and they also picked in the top 10 players that shouldn't be picked in the top 10. So that did not help them because at the forward position in terms of prospect, they have Tyler Boucher, they have Zach Ostapchuk, they have like Roby Jarventy, and they have a guy in the USHL that I like when I was watching Trevor Connolly, but I doubt that guy's going to be an NHL player, but I liked him, so I'm going to put him there, and it's Owen Beckner. But like what are you going to do with that? Like, none of those players are going to be top 6 player, like most likely. Maybe Roby Jarventy becomes a top 6 player, but what are the chances of that? Like, but everybody else are bottom 6 all day, every day. And it's not like Tyler Boucher is a guy that has skills or anything like that. The guy brings some skating with some size and a lot of physicality. His game is all about physicality and just getting to the puck first. That's what he's doing, but that's all that he brings, nothing else. So it's looking rough, man, because like I said, if they lose Giroux and Josh Norris cannot come back to what he was, well, they have nothing to replace them. So they're gonna have to either trade or they're gonna have to like, obviously they're gonna pick now, so maybe they take a guy that can replace them, but that's gonna be in a couple of years. Like, nobody you pick today is gonna be good enough to be a star like next year or the year after and help you compete right away. They're too young for that. So not looking good on that side. And same thing for the defense prospect. Like, they have Tyler Clevin, Thomas Amara, and Maxence Guénette. Like, wash. It's just, and I promise I'm not saying that because I'm a Habs fan and I'm supposed to not like Ottawa. It's nothing about that. I think that most Ottawa fans know it, that it's not looking great, but at least their top 6 and their top 4, they should be able to compete right now if they had good coaching and if the goalies decide to stop a puck once in a while. But if it stays the same, if they don't hire a good coach, and if the goalies keep just letting everything in, they're still not going to make the playoff, but they have nothing coming up to help them make the playoff. So I think they're in a really bad spot. I think that of all those teams, they're the teams in the worst spot, because it's hard to say, because like I said, they have stars at the at defense with Jake Sanderson, Thomas Chabot, and Jacob Chikrin, and they have stars at forward with Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle, but it's not enough to be a playoff team, and they don't have anything coming up, so they're just stuck there until the guy they pick now becomes something that can help them. But they're only picking one guy because they have 2 picks, and I think they have 2 picks. They have Boston's pick too, but what are the chances that when they pick Boston, I don't know, 25, 26, 27 or something like that, what are the chances that that guy's going to be a star? Like 2%? What are the chances that that guy plays in the NHL in the next 2 years and has a significant impact? 10%? So it's, so that's what I'm saying, is that they already been in that position for the last 6 or 7 years or something like that, and now they need to move forward, but they have nothing to move forward. They only have players that might make them move backward, with Josh Norris surgery and with Claude Giroux getting old and with Jacob Chikrin maybe going away. So they're gonna have to be active on the free agent game and try to get players that way. But then you're gonna have to pay more for them, so you're gonna end up in a cap problem. So yeah, like I said, I don't think it's looking good at all. That's the way I see it. It's just not looking good. There's no other way to put it. I think that they're the team that are the most stuck. Like, obviously there's team, if you take a look at San Jose, like, they're so far from being a competitive team and being able to do anything. Like teams in the AHL would beat San Jose right now. They're just very bad. But they're at the bottom, so they're gonna pick at the bottom, and they're gonna keep picking at the bottom because they have nothing to bring to the NHL, and they have nothing in the NHL, and players are just not ready. Like, even if next year they bring in Will Smith is not going to make them go from being one of the worst teams the NHL has ever seen to being a playoff team, right? So they're going to stay there for a little while, and let's just hope they don't try to accelerate stuff and they don't try to trade top 10 picks for players that stay only 1 year or something like that. But all this to say that Ottawa is just in a very, very bad spot because they're kind of stuck there. And it's not going upward, it's going downward. So, but with good coaching, it could help. We'll see. Anyways, after that, it's Montreal. And Montreal are the best. That's it. In terms of top six, they have Nick Suzuki, they have Cole Caulfield, they have Juraj Slafkovsky, Kirby Dach, and it can be debated if Alex Newhook is a top six player for a playoff team or if he's more like a middle six player for a playoff team. I think right now he proved that he was better. At least he proved that he was better than what I thought. He had 24 points in 55 games, including 15 goals. So, yeah, it was good. I'm not sure I want him in my top six, though. So, all depends on people's preference. I just don't want too many players of Cole Caulfield and Alex Newhook's size in my top six. Like, already right now, our number one center is, 5'11"? Yeah, Nick Suzuki is 5'11", so it's not like he plays through contact, no problem. He's not a physical guy, but he plays through contact. He goes to get the puck. And he's heavy. Like, you can see here, 212 pounds. He's like a cube. So that's why he's solid. But it's not a big player. But if he plays, but we also have Juraj Slafkovsky and Kirby Dach. So we do have some size and some talent in the top six. In the top four, we have Michael Matheson, we have Kaden Guhle, and at least right now, David Savard. But David Savard is a guy that you want on a third pair if you're competing for a playoff spot. Like, he's not a top four guy any day of the week if you're competing, but right now he's very good at helping our young players get better. So we need that guy, but it's more of a depth role than a top four role. So when you look at it, the way I look at it is like we have 4 top 6 player and 2 top 4 defensemen. So there's missing a lot. And the depth is not great also because, look, there's Josh Anderson, who's making a ton of money and is not making anything on the ice. And even when he's making things on the ice, he's still not great. He's still just skating fast, beating defenders out wide and cutting to the net. That's his only move. Whenever he has the puck on his stick, if he's not doing that, he's messing up the play. It's that simple. And it was like that even when he was scoring goals. Like there were, if I'm not mistaken, he scored more than 20 for us. And we did for Columbus, but for us too, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 21 last season. No, that's it. 19 the year before. And yeah, it's just not good. But anyway, skates fast and has size and can cut to the net. But whenever he has the puck on his stick, if he's doing anything else than that, he's losing it. He's gonna bobble the puck and it's gonna go the other way. It's always like that. And after that, like there's a player like this year who's been really good, like Yoel Armia. He's been really, really good for us, but he's been really, really good 1 year out of all of his seasons in the NHL. Like every other season, he was never that good. So do we think that at 30 years old, he found himself and all of a sudden that's going to be the player we have? I doubt it. I think the history says that he's not that player. He's just that this year he's been good. He decided, okay, this year I'm good. So I don't think he's really that much of a top, not a top four, but like just not a depth player that I would like to keep. Gallagher is a guy that you want your team to be able to learn from because he plays all heart, but at the same time he's not good anymore. He's not fast. He doesn't have that much of a shot. He's not a playmaker whatsoever. He cannot handle the puck well in traffic, so he just goes to the net and try to do something from there. It's something you want your young players to learn from, but it's not something that, especially at his size, he's not that valuable anymore, especially with that contract also. Then there's players like Jake Evans, who's good defensively. He's good on the face-off, but he's a black hole offensively. Every time he has the puck, he just loses it. There's nothing happening. Like, obviously, sometimes there's luck on his side. But anyway, it's a depth player that should be on the fourth line. Like, if this guy is playing in your top 9, I think it's a problem. It's not that I know there's a lot of Habs fans who love Jake Evans for some reason. I just don't. I understand the value of that guy. I understand that it's the guy that you want to put out on defensive face-off to protect the puck. You want to put him on the ice in the last couple of minutes to protect if you're 2-1 and you're winning by 1 or something like that. But he's not a great player. He's a great player on the fourth line. That's it, and that's all. Then we're going to have players like Arbor Jacki or Struble or Harris, who are all depth player. Like, I don't think Arbor Jacki is a top 4 player. I love him, and I want him to stay on the team. I want him to, like, lock his place on the third pair and stay there. Like, he's a big guy that's mobile. He has some offense. He has a hard shot. He's not the best at walking the line of, like, getting penalties for no reason and just being too physical and getting himself out of the play. So he has to learn that. But overall, for a guy that jumped from Costco to NHL from one year to the other, it's what he's been accomplishing is really, really good. But, like, I would like him to get third pair minutes, and that's it, because that's what he should be. But I want him on the third pair. So he's a very, very good depth player. He's a player that I want to keep for as long as we can, but on the third pair, no more. Same thing with Struble. Struble, I like him. He's a physical player. He's not that big, but he's very strong. And Harris is the most vanilla defenseman I've ever seen in my life, but he's good. But I think we should trade him to get something, but we'll see what they want to do. In net, we have Montembeault and Primo, who are both good. I think Montembeault he's a first, like a first goalie. I don't think Primo's a first goalie, but Montembeault has been proving for 2 years that he's a first goalie. So no problem there, and we also have a good pipeline of goalie. In terms of forward prospect, it's really not looking great. Like, we don't have the best top 6 right now, and what we have coming up is not gonna help us that much. I think the only player that we have that has a top 6 ceiling or potential is maybe Joshua Roy, because he's very, very smart with the puck. He's also good at keeping the puck. He has a hard shot. He's a good passer. He sees the ice very well. So I don't know. I was extremely impressed by this guy, but I've been extremely impressed by him since we picked him. So it's not like it was a surprise. I always thought that was the player that he was, and I think he has top 6 potential. I think he's going to end up in the top 6. But everybody else, from Owen Beck to Philippe Méchard to Philippe Eriksson, Luke Tuck, Oliver Kapanen, they're all players. Like, maybe Owen Beck's a middle 6 player because he plays hard. He's a good skater. He doesn't have hands, but he's a good player. He's a player that you probably want on your third line, like, most of the time. But he can play on your second line and he won't hurt it. Maybe, like, a lot of people say that Owen Beck is like our next Jake Evans. I think he's better than Jake Evans. At least I hope. But I think he is better, but I don't think he's top 6 good. Because I know there's really two kind of people in the Habs fan sphere. There's the one who think Owen Beck is a top 6 player and he's going to be really good because he's having good playoffs. And then there's the people who think maybe a little bit more realistically that he's going to be a good third line player because he's limited in skills, limited in handling. It's going to be a little bit hard for him in the NHL. But we'll see. And outside of that, Philippe Méchard, it's been rough since he came to North America. Philippe Eriksson, he's been doing well in Sweden, but, like, there's not really tons of skill when you watch. I don't know if any of you watch him, but nothing stands out as a big time skills or NHL translatable skill that will, like, make him stand out. I think there's a good chance I think he's gonna make it to the NHL because he's doing really well, but I don't think he has anything that stands out. Luke Tuck, if he plays, it's it's fourth line, nothing more. Oliver Kapanen. I know there's people like Grant McCagg who really, really like that guy, and even more now that he's having great playoff. But he didn't have necessarily a great season. The season was pretty meh. so yeah, all this to say that in the forward prospect pool, I think Joshua Roy is the only savior. Everybody else are like from third line down. That's how I see it. And the defensive prospect, though, that's where it gets better, because since we already have Michael Matheson and Kaden Gooley, who are first pair defensemen. I think it's pretty obvious. We have Lane Hudson coming up. We have David Reinbacher coming up. We have Logan Mailloux coming up. Justin Barron, I think he's going to be a third pair defenseman, no more, no less. Like, he has his flashes, but he's not an assertive guy, right? He's the guy that he seems hesitant every time he has to defend. I think on the offensive part of the game, he's less hesitant. He make plays fast, but defensively, it's like he never knows if he should lock the guy with his body or just stay a little further and try to, play with his stick. I don't know. I'm not his biggest fan, but I understand that the players like that have potential to explode later, like when they're a little bit older. But every time that he plays, he kind of proves that this is just the way that he is. He's just a hesitant defensive defenseman but hesitant defenseman who's better offensively, but not great defensively. And then there's Adam Engstrom and Bogdan Konyushkov, who both have at least NHL potential. I'm not sure they're top four player. Like, Adam Engstrom hasn't shown to be top 4 player. Bogdan Konyushkov, the same thing. We'll see. Maybe Engstrom could be a little bit more than a third pair defenseman, but a third pair defenseman in the NHL is really good. Huh? A guy who plays there for 10 years it's a giant success if you picked him in the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth round. It doesn't matter. It's a success. So I'm not saying that being a third pair defenseman is a bad thing at all. It's a very good thing, especially if you can be there, like I said, consistently, game after game, year after year, and be part of, like, there are third pair defensemen who are part of a core, because I think Jack can be that type of guy who's a third pair defenseman, but he's part of the core of the team because he has his role, he has his importance. I don't know if we say that, but he's important to the team while being not the best player there is. All right. So I think Adam Engstrom and Bogdan Konyushkov, they're more likely to be third pair defensemen, but maybe they could be more. I just don't see how. Goalie prospect Jacob Fowler, who's gonna be, I don't know if he's gonna be, but he's looking like he's a future number 1 goalie. He's been very, very good this year in the NCAA. So, and he's been very good in the playoff. He's been very good all the time. He's been very good last year in the playoff in the USHL. So I don't know. I feel like he's just always very good. He's not the biggest, but yeah, it's looking good. I'm not a goalie pro, so even in the NHL, sometimes I don't know why a goalie is good and why a goalie is not good. I understand why Carey Price was good, but if you tell me what's special about Montembeault, I don't know. But he saves puck, so that's it. And in terms of pick this year, we have 2 picks. We have obviously our pick in the top 5 unless we move down, and then we have Winnipeg's pick in the second round. We have Colorado, and then we have 2 in the third round. So enough to get at least one forward prospect that could help us for the future. I hope, because I think honestly the depth in the defensive prospect pool is good. I don't think there's a problem there with what we already have and what's coming up. We have a lot of big guys. Like Mailloux and Reinbacher are a pretty big guy. At the NHL level, we already have Gooley, who's a big guy. We're gonna have Jack on the third pair, who's a big guy. The only smaller player we'll have basically is going to be Lane Hudson, and that's fine because that guy can do his thing. and we have all the other one who can help him. So I think defensively it's looking good. Offensively it's looking mediocre. It's not bad, not great. It's just yeah. I think that's fair, right? Like, I don't want to be too negative because I know a lot of Habs fans don't like it when we're negative, but at the same time, there's not a lot. No, it's not true. It's not that there's not a lot of positive. There's a lot of positive of taking from this season, but it's not looking like Nick Suzuki is a first line centerman, right? Kirby Dach, we don't know. He never plays, right? He's always injured, so we just don't know what we have. We haven't seen with consistency what he can do at the NHL level. Like, when he played, he looked really good, but he never did it over a season. So until he do that, I will not be able to say that he's a first line centerman or something like that. He looks like it. He has everything to be it, but he never did it consistently. So until he does it, he's a top 6 player, no more, no less. All right. Juraj Slavkovsky, he's been really good with his 50.20 goals over the season. Just amazing. He's far from perfect. Very, very far from perfect, in my opinion. I think the way he handles the puck is a bit of a problem, but he's going to work on it and he's going to get better. He just turned 20. So, yeah, he's young. He has plenty of time to get better. So, the top 6 is looking good, but it's missing at least one very, very good element or two. Yeah, but for the defense and the goalie part of the game, I think that's pretty much set. So it's going well. It's moving in the right direction. I think I'm not sure we're playoff team next year. I'm not sure we're actually fighting for a playoff next year. I think the top 6 is still way too rough, unless obviously they go in the free agent market and they pay Stamkos or whatever. Maybe that will help. But as it is right now, and with nobody coming up that will really help us like get to the next level, I think we are stuck at the bottom for not the bottom, not top 5 bottom, but like close maybe to top 10. Like we could end up being like, I don't know, 22nd or 23rd, 24th, 25th in the league. I think that's something about that. So that's it for Montreal. Let's go for the next one. And next one is Detroit. And Detroit, they fought for the playoff until the last game this year. So, and they did well. They won both games. So, kind of sad for them, but at the same time, I don't care. Their top 6: Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, Alex DeBrincat, JT Comfort. And right now they also had Kane and Perron, but they're both UFAs if I'm not mistaken. So if they don't come back, their top 6 is basically Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, Alex DeBrincat, and JT Comfort. So is that fantastic? No, it's not. I mean, the first line is great. Like Alex DeBrincat, Larkin, and Lucas. That's really, really good. That's perfectly fine for a first line. But then your second line is just JT Comfort. So yeah, that's not fantastic. In terms of defensemen, they have Moritz Seider, obviously, and Ben Sherratt, who can maybe be considered as a top 4. Maybe Jake Wallman also. I don't know for those two, but I think they could be considered top 4 defensemen. But Moritz Seider is like a franchise level defenseman. He's so dominant defensively and can also make it work offensively. He had 42 points in 82 games. Yeah, I think he's just a fantastic player. So it's a good foundation to build on. Outside of that, if you take the goalies, they have Alex Lyon, they have Ville Husso, which is like it's nothing. It's nothing great. Like Ville Husso is not that bad, but look, he had 892 save percentage and 3.56 goals against average. So, like, yeah, he's not great. All right, there's nothing else to say. In terms of depth, Andrew Kopp is really good. Joe Veleno is really good. Michael Rasmussen, Jeff Petrie. I think they have some decent depth. So overall, the fact that they have a decent top 6, the defense is really built around Moritz Seider, who's playing like 23 minutes a night or 22 minutes a night. they have a solid team and they have some talent coming up, but nothing impressive also. Like if you take a look at the forward prospect, they have Marco Casper, Nate Danielson, Carter Mazer. I don't know how you say that, his name, actually. Carter Mazer. Elmer Soderblom, Dmitry Buchelnikov, Noah Dower Nelson. So, like, Casper and Nate Danielson are players who were picked in the top 10. I think they're middle six player. I'm not sure any of those two are really like difference maker at the NHL level. Obviously, they're gonna put them in the top 6. It's obvious that when they have 3 or maybe 4 top 6 player, they're gonna take their 2 top 10 pick and they're gonna play them in the top 6 and hope and pray for the best, right? But are they really top 6 player on a contending team? I don't think so. I really don't. But they're a good player to have in your team because they're a very highly competitive player and they're a player that can really help your team win. Just not top 6. Outside of that, Mazer, Soderblom, Buchanikov, Dower Nelson. I think they're pretty much all bottom 6, middle 6 type of player. Maybe Buchanikov has a little bit more potential. I like Soderblom. He's a profile of player that, I don't know, he's just big and good. he's not that good, but I mean, I remember when we played against him. I think, was it this season or last season that he played in the NHL? Yeah, last season he played a couple games in the NHL, and one of them was against Montreal, and they put up like a trio that were just 3 giant players, and we couldn't do anything on the ice every time they were there. Every time we were there, like we had like Caulfield and Suzuki on the ice, and we were just not capable of getting out of our zone. They were just hammering it down, and we were stuck. So Elmer Soderblom was a big part of that line, and yeah, I like him. I think as a death piece, 22-year-old, 6'8", 246-pound guy. Yeah, I want him. All right. So that's it. And for the defense prospect, well, we have Simon Edvinsson, Axel Sandin-Pellikka, William Villander, and Shai Buyam, who are all notable prospects. Simon Edvinsson, Axel Sandin-Pellikka are definitely top 4 defensemen. I was a little bit lower on Axel Sandin-Pellikka last season. I'm still a little bit lower than a lot of people, like people who are saying like he's a future star, something like that. I don't see that, but I think he's going to be a top 4 defenseman, and Simon Edvinsson, it's pretty obvious that he's going to be a top 4 defenseman. When you're big like that, can move like that, can move the puck like that, usually you're top 4 and you're a lock. William Villander, probably a third pair guy. Same thing for Shai Buyam or Shai Buyam. I think it's Shai Buyam. I think he has a chance to be a third pair defenseman too. So overall, a good prospect pool, forward and defensively. Just no high end offensively, but high end defensively they have. Goalie prospects Sebastian Cossa and Trey Augustine. I think it's good. Outside of that, I don't have much to add there. So overall, Detroit, they've been competing for what they compete until the last second to make it to the playoff. So they are like very close to it. Now the problem is if they lose both Perron and Kane, well, that's going to be a problem because they are a big part of their team. If we take a look here. Where is it? Can't see them. Are they in the UFAs? So Perron had 47 points in 76 games. Patrick Kane had 47 points in 50 games. So obviously you're losing like 94 points. I don't think you can afford that. So they're gonna have to re-sign them, or at least try to re-sign them, because without them they're not making the playoff. And it's not like they will bring up. I don't think that the fact they will bring up Marco Casper or Nate Danielson will change the fact that they will all of a sudden make it to the playoff. So, but they're in a good spot. Like they still have a lot coming up, and they're already fighting for a playoff spot. So if they can fix the UFA thing, they're on their way to playoff spot. And overall a good rebuild. Maybe it was accelerated a little bit. We'll see how it goes. But I think overall it's gonna be missing some talent, but they're gonna compete for the playoff. I'm just not sure if they're gonna be contender because, like I said, not a ton of talent. So next one, San Jose. Where's San Jose? I don't have it. Okay, so let me open it. Go cap friendly. San Jose, like that. Depth chart. There you go. Just gonna place it where it needs to be. Boom. All right, San Jose. Top 6 forward. They have William Eklund, who's a player that I really like. Michael Granlund and Logan Couture. That's basically it. Even Granlund, is he a 60-point player usually? Too many players, not enough memory. Yeah, okay. He was a 64-point player for Nashville. Just never plays that many games. That's the thing. Okay, cool. So, yeah, a first line, not a first line, but a top 6 player, William Eklund, Mikael Granlund, and Logan Couture. Top 4 defensemen, it's Mario Ferraro, and that's basically it. Anything else, like Cal Burrow, Vlasic, Thompson, no. I think, Kalen Addison, no. Henry Thrun, maybe at some point, but right now, no. So top 4 is just Mario Ferraro. So it's pretty empty when you look at that. When you look at a top 6 of William Eklund, Mikael Granlund, and Logan Couture, and a top 4 of Mario Ferraro, you're not gonna win a lot of games. And then the goalies are Vitek Vanacek and Mackenzie Blackwood. So that's not gonna help you much. Even though I thought that Vanacek was gonna be better than that, but for now it's not looking too great. In the depth they have Fabian Zetterlund, who's not too bad. Where is he? Right here. He had 44 points in 82 games, 24 goals, so overall pretty good at 24 years old. He's not the biggest guy out there, but he's solid. And if we take a look at the stats he had in the past. Yeah, so not great in the past. Is it an outlier season? We'll see. Actually, it's pretty much the same pace as last year. Like, not exactly, but pretty much the same pace as last year. So, yeah, overall, I don't think he's a top 6 guy. I think it's not a guy that you want in your top 6. It's a guy that you want in your middle 6 or bottom 6. But still, he's there. In terms of prospect at the forward position, they have Will Smith, who's most likely going to be a first-line center. They have Quentin Musty, who was amazing last year. Fell all the way to the 20s and then fell. Everybody had him in their 20s, but he was already really good, just not consistent. Now this year he's very, very good and very, very consistent. So I think he's a top 6 all day, every day. And everybody else, like if we take Thomas Bordeleau, Casper Altonen, David Edstrom, Daniel Gushin, Cam Lund, Colin Graff, I think they're all players that have a middle 6 type of potential, like maybe outside of Camlin. I think it's more like a bottom 6, but I wouldn't be surprised if David Enstrom or Altonen both play either in the top 6 or on the third line. They're players, I don't know, they're players with some strength. Like David Enstrom, it's not that he has a lot of strength. It's not that he has big strength that really stands out. Is the fact that he's a big player that skates well, can play with the puck, has a good shot. He's not fantastic at anything, but he does everything well, and he's big. Casper Altonen, he's big and he has a devastating shot, so he has a chance to be paired with a guy who can pass the puck to him, and he's just going to be there in the middle of the ice, just one-timing pucks. So that helps you a lot. So yeah, I think overall they have a good forward prospect, especially with Will Smith and Quentin Musty, and all the rest. I think it's really strong. They have a good, they have a good mix of talent and size in their forward prospect. If they're the defense prospect, they have Shakir Mekamudalin. Is that how we say that? Shakir. Where is he? Yeah, Shakir Mukamadulin. That's not easy. They have Henry Thrun, maybe Luca Cagnoni. He had a good season, but I don't know. I'm not his biggest fan. Like I like him, but is he gonna be an NHL player? That's the part that I don't know. I think Henry Tron is a third pair, maybe second pair type of player. Shakir Mukamadulin is a top 4 defenseman in my opinion. At some point, maybe not right now, but at some point. So yeah, I think this year they absolutely need to pick probably a defenseman, because man, they have nothing. Like, they have nothing in the league. They have nothing coming up. Like, at some point, and defensemen usually take more time to develop, so at some point you're gonna have to start using your pick for defensemen so they can take the couple years that it takes to develop and become good defensemen, and then you will be able to compete at some point. But they are very far away, in my opinion. But they have 2 firsts and 2 seconds, I think, this year. Yeah, exactly, 2 firsts, including Pittsburgh, who's is gonna be a lottery, but it's top 10 protected. But still, even if they stay where they are, it's gonna be like a number 14 or number 15, something like that. 2 second round also. So, I mean, I would put everything on defense. Like everything, because they have nothing, like except for Shakir and Mario Ferraro, they have already at the moment in the NHL, they have nothing, so they really need to start doing something with that. So yeah, they are extremely far away from being competitive. It's gonna be rough, man. It's gonna be so rough with what they have at the NHL level right now. Wow. Like, I didn't remember when I did that exercise of, like, I did it, a week or 2 ago, something like that. I didn't remember how bad San Jose was looking. They have a good prospect pool though, so they have a lot of stuff coming up and a good mix. But like, the defense is rough, and what they have at the NHL is just wow. All right. Anyway, and I don't think they have any goalie prospect also, so it's not. Anyway, it's bad. All right. And then after that, we have Chicago. So let's go to Chicago. Right here. All right. So Chicago, top 6 forward. Well, obviously we have Connor Bedard. We have Taylor Hall. We have Philipp Kurashev and Lukas Reichel, in my opinion. I know that Reichel hasn't played like a top 6 player in this season. He's played 14 minutes a night. He had 16 points in 65 games. So, look, it's not good. I made a video about top 10 wingers or centers. I don't remember where I put him, but one way or another, I had him in my top 10, and maybe it's not looking good now, but I still have faith. So I think he's really talented, and he's such a good skater. I don't know, I would put that guy with Connor Bedard and just let them go together. They have nobody else anyway, so. But yeah, so Connor Bedard obviously is the foundation to what they're going to build their team. He's going to be the superstar, one of the best players in the NHL. The guy's almost a point per game in the NHL as an 18-year-old who's like 5'9". So, I mean, even Jack Hughes couldn't do that, and he's like a 100-point player. So I think he's going to be pretty much fantastic. So the top 6 is fine. It's not great. Like, Philipp Kurashev in the top 6 is not that great. Taylor Hall, he's a good player, but he's inconsistent, to say the least. And Lukas Reichel is not really a top 6 right now. It's like not necessarily fair to the other team, because every other team I've put top 6 that are actually top 6 player, and then I just decided to put Lukas Reichel there as if he was a top 6 player, but he's absolutely not. But I think he is. All right, so I decided it's my podcast. I do what I want. In the defense, they have Kevin Korchinski and Seth Jones, who both... Seth Jones is a top 4 defenseman, even maybe a first-line defenseman. And Kevin Korchinski project as 1. I don't think he had that great of a season, though. I didn't really like him when I saw him. 15 points in 76 games, played 19 minutes a night, minus 39. Ooh. I think the potential is there, but I guess it's a rough season for him. And like I said, that kind of supports the eye test. I did not look at his stats before that, but I watched a lot of Chicago this year, and was not a big fan. Was not a big fan of Kevin Korchinski, but at the same time, when you play on such a bad team, stuff happens, right? In the depth, they have Jason Dickinson, Ryan Donato, so nothing that is really nothing that's great. So they have a lot to build. In the goalie section, they don't have anything really. I don't know if I missed something, but in my notes I said I don't know, not looking good. So, and if I look here, like Arvid Soderblom, 24 years old, 879. That's not good. Peter Mrazek, he's 32. He's UFA in 2 years. So yeah, I guess my notes made sense. I don't know, not looking good. So that's it. For the forward prospect, they picked Oliver Moore last year. They have Frank Nazar from the year before, Ryan Green, Nick Lardis, Colton Dach. So I think Oliver Moore and Frank Nazar are going to be top 6 player. More Nazar than Oliver Moore. Oliver Moore might end up as a middle 6 player, but he has the potential. At least he has the skating and the shot to do it. I'm not sure he is. Like, every time I watched him last year, there was always like something missing. Yeah, but I always like convinced myself that he was really, really good. But at the same time, every time I saw him, I felt like there was something missing, and I still see the same thing this year. So we'll see. But anyways, I think he's gonna be at the minimum a middle 6 player who's gonna bring a ton of speed. And same thing for Frank Nazar. Frank Nazar, I think, is going to be a top 6 player, and he's going to bring a ton of speed too. So, and then they have Nick Lardis, who can shoot with the best of them, Ryan Green and Colton Dach, who has some size. So they're not a big team, huh? Forward position, when you look at that, like Connor Bedard, Lucas Reichel, Philip Kurashev, Taylor Hall, and then their prospect pool is Oliver Moore, Frank Nazar, Nick Lardis. Colton Dach. I don't think Colton Dach is going to be a top 6 player. I'd be very surprised, but I mean, it's not impossible. But I mean, it's going to be a bottom 6 most likely. So yeah, they need a ton of size. They need to add a lot of size in their top 6 because wow. Okay, defense prospect, same thing. I really like Sam Rinzel. Sam Rinzel, I think, is going to be a good player. I liked him in his draft here. I liked him after. I like him still. Ethan Demastro, Wyatt Kaiser. They're all players who I think have a chance to be like a third pair defenseman. But I think Sam Rinzel has more potential than that. I think Sam Rinzel is a top 4 defenseman in the future. Yeah, a bit like that guy in what's his name? Mason Lohrei? Yeah, Mason Lohrei in Boston. I think he has that type of profile, so I like him. Goalie prospect, they have Adam Gadjan and Drew Comesso. So, yeah, good. I'm not sure if Gadjan was good or not. Where is he? Let me see. I want to see the stats, but I don't know where he is. Where is he? Okay, he's right there. So, if I click here, and we look in the USHL, 893, 335 goals against average in 43 games. Wow. Okay. Playoff 2 games, 0.791 and 490 goals against average. Okay. Well, I put him in the goalie prospect, but he has a long way to go. But it is what it is. So anyway, Adam Gadjan could be good. Drew Comesso could be good. Conclusion, I think they have a couple of firsts, right? They have like 2 firsts again. Yeah, 2 firsts, 3 second round, 2 third round. So they're loaded with picks again, and they need stuff everywhere. So a bit like San Jose. I think they are more advanced than San Jose. So San Jose is because they're missing so much and they don't have any Connor Bedard or something like that, but they're still missing a lot. Like they are very far in they are at the very beginning of the rebuilding process, and they also went scorched earth. They eliminated everybody. They just traded everything that they could for every single pick that they could, and that's what it does. It makes you very far away from competing. So yeah, that's it. Good luck. And the last one is Columbus, and Columbus, I think it's one of my favorite. Them and Buffalo, man. I like what they did. Anyway, let me just go on my page here. Let me also make sure that it's still recording. It is still recording, so that's good. All right, so top six, they have Johnny Godo, they have Boone Jenner, they have Patrick Laine, they have Adam Fantilli, they have Kirill Marchenko, they have Ken Johnson. So they're loaded. Like, why are they at the very bottom of the NHL? I don't know. I have no clue. Is it because of the injuries? I think they had some injuries. I think Adam Fantilli was injured. Who else? I don't remember who else was injured, but anyway, I know they had some injuries, but was it really that severe? I don't know. Anyways, top six is fantastic. It's just like, obviously, like Patrick Laine can never stay healthy. Like, playing a healthy season is unheard of. Boone Jenner is a very good player. Johnny Gaudreau is a very good player. Adam Fantilli is looking like he's gonna be a star. Kirill Marchenko is really good also. I mean, it's looking really good up front. And Ken Johnson, he's a target. I know that Habs fans keep talking about him, like they want to target him, like because, like Kent Hughes every year kind of go use a first and something to go get a player. And they've been, I know the Habs fan on Reddit, I've been talking about Ken Johnson for like 6 months. I don't think Columbus would do that, but yeah, that would be good though. I would be happy if we get Ken Johnson, but I highly doubt that. And at defense, we have Zach Werenski, Damon Severson, Ivan Provorov, and David Jiricek. Again, just like the top six, it's super solid. Like, I don't think it's not on the same level as Buffalo, because Buffalo, they literally have 2-star level player plus Owen Powers, who I don't think is a star level player, but it's going to be a first line time of defenseman. So, and they have like the perfect combination with Matthias Samuelsson to play the defensive part of the game, but can also move the puck forward. So really, really good. But when I look at this, Zach Werenski, Damon Severson, Ivan Provorov, David Jiricek, it's looking great, and they have some stuff coming up too. It's not like that's all they have. And then when you add the depth, they have Yegor Chinnikov, who's been really good. How much point did he have? He had 29 points in 53 games. So that little guy was not too bad. Alexandre Texier, Cole Sillinger was a high pick, and I think he's gonna end up being a top 6 player. But for now, it's been a slow development. But he had a great first year, if I'm not mistaken. Where is he? Cole Sillinger. Go here. Yeah, his first year, and that was right after his draft, right? I don't think he went back to school. He just went straight to the NHL and had 31 points, 16 goals in 79 games, and then followed that up with 11 points in 64 games. Watch. And then 32 in 77. Question marks. It's not the best production. It's not exactly what you want, but I liked his game. I think there's something there. Like here you see Cap Friendly, they put as a report, they see him as a fourth line, like 77 fourth line. No, that's Sean Corrali. 71 fourth line. That's even worse. No, I don't believe that. I think he's at least a middle 6 player. But I think he has the potential to be a top 6 player. Alexandre Texier is pretty good too. Dmitry Voronko is pretty good too. So overall, man, when you look at that top 6, let's start back. Okay, Johnny Gaudreau, Boone Jenner, Patrick Laine, Adam Fantilli, Kirill Marchenko, and Ken Johnson. That's a top 6. Top 4: Zach Werenski, Damon Severson, Ivan Provorov, David Jiricek. That's a top 4. Depth: Yegor Chinnikov, Cole Sillinger, Alexandre Texier, Dmitry Voronko. That's some good depth. And then you have the goalies, where it's Elvis Merzlikins and Daniel Tarasov. So, what was the issue? Like, that team should be much better than that. I know it's a mix of, I know there's injuries in there, but is the coaching that bad? Is the team building that bad? I don't know, but man, I feel like this team should be so much better than what they did. But one way or another, it is what it is. And then at the forward prospect, they have Jordan Dumais, who's coming up soon, Gavin Brindley, who they signed, Luca Del Belbaluz, Luca Pinelli, William Whitelaw. Like, I like Dumais. I like Gavin Brindley. I think Brindley is going to be a top 6 player. Jordan Zmek could be a middle six, top six player. I think the other ones, like Luca Penelli and William Whiteley, I'm not even sure they even gonna make it to the NHL. Actually, I kind of a little bit doubt it. Luca Del Belbaluz could play in a bottom six role. I don't think he will ever have the skating to be a top six player. It's very, very far from being average. Very far. Anyways, defense prospect Denton Matejchuk, who's I think he's a sure shot top 4 defenseman. I really liked him in his draft year. I still really like him. He's just really good. I know he's on the smaller side, but he's really good. What do you want? Corson Kuleman, Stanislav Zvozil, Andrew Strathman. So they have some depth. I think Kuleman, Zvozil, Strathman are all like third pair defensemen, maybe number 5 defenseman, number 4 defenseman maybe. But Denton Matejchuk could be slotted in a second pair and be like a number 3 defenseman with a good offense touch. At the goalie position, I think they have absolutely nothing that project as a top goalie. So we'll see. But Merzlikins wasn't as bad, I think, before. No? Am I crazy for thinking that he's not that bad? Where is he? Where are the goalies? Right here. If we go here, yeah, this season was horrible. Last season was even more horrible. The year prior was okay. The year before that was very good, but was only 28 games. The year before that was really good, but it was only 33 games. We'll see. I think he cannot handle a lot of games. That's what it looks like when you look at it like that. And in terms of pick, I don't think they have multiple picks. No, exactly. They have their first round pick, they have no second round pick, and they have 2 third round pick. So anyway, they're picking like number 4. If everything stays the same, I think they're number 4. I think so. They're gonna add another solid player. I don't know if they're gonna go offense or defense. They can go wherever they want, but they're loaded everywhere. I think, yeah, man, what happened? Anyways, if you put all of that together, I think that Buffalo and Columbus are by far the best team, the best rebuilds right now. The thing is, Buffalo, I've been rebuilding for like 13 years or something like that. So obviously they had all kinds of time to build that, and they had players like Jack Eichel that they traded. They had players like Middlestat that they traded. So they had a lot of good players come through their system, and they haven't won with any combination of those players. Now they still have good players like Thompson and Cousins and all those players, and they still haven't won or reached a playoff or compete for playoff. So it's rough. It's been rough for a long time, and it's hard to say that it's not going to be rough. It's hard to say that it will change, but they have a lot in their prospect pool to help them move forward. Like, they're not losing that much as far as I know. If I go here in the UFA section, yeah, like, they're losing Olofsson, Girgensson, Tyson Jost. Like, who cares? Who cares about that? Defensively, Jeremy Davis, Ciccone. Yeah, no, they're not losing anything of value, so they'll be perfectly fine. And they're gonna have players that are coming, like, not that Zach Benson's gonna come in, but it's gonna be even better. Like, the guy is just so smart and so skilled. And same thing for maybe Jack Quinn will play a full season. Like, was he injured or he just played in the AHL? Yeah, exactly. So he was injured. He played only 27 games on the season, and he had almost 40 points the year prior. So yeah, it's looking really good for Buffalo, and they have a lot coming up. Looking very good. And same thing for Columbus, but everybody else, Ottawa is just stuck. I don't know how they're going to get out of there. It's going to be hard. San Jose and Chicago, they're just too far. They're just very, very far. San Jose even more, because they don't have anything that's substantial to build on. Detroit, they, like, they will need UFAs to keep moving forward, because what they have will not replace what they're losing. Like if they're losing Perron and they're losing Patrick Kane, it's not true that Marco Kaspar and Nate Danielson will replace that type of production and that type of space creation and playmaking and shot. It's just not gonna happen. And even if it does, it's not gonna happen next year. It's gonna happen 5 years from now. Maybe with Nate Danielson, when he's 23, 24 years old, he's a stud and he plays in the top 6 and he's like a 70-point player. I don't know. I don't think so, but it could happen. But it's not gonna be next year. So they need to replace those 94 points that they're losing. So yeah, they're a little bit stuck. Montreal, I think they're decently far away from it. There's a lot of things that depends on Kirby Dach. Like if he comes in next year and he's the stud that he was at the end of last season and the stud that he was at the preseason game and the first game or first 2 games that he played this year, if he's that player and he's that player for 82 games, we can talk. We can talk, because then you add a player that had a little bit of NHL experience like Joshua Roy with him, and Alex Newhook, who's been playing really good this season. I mean, it's a solid top 6. Is it excellent top 6? No, but it's a solid top 6. And then at defense, we're going to be very raw again, but we still have Michael Matheson. We'll still have Caden Gooley. We're going to have David Savard, who's going to be paired with a guy like maybe Lane Hudson to help him get through his defensive task while being able to do his shake and bake on the offensive side. So it's looking good. And the depth, while I don't like the Montreal depth with Armia and Gallagher and Anderson and all those giant contracts that will never just go away, the depth is not great, but at the same time we have players like Arbor Jackson who can play on the third line. So it's looking good. It's looking positive with with Montembeault, Owen Beck, who might play next year. So it's looking good. It's not looking great, but it's looking good. And then depending on what we can add at the draft, maybe we can build a real top 6 and have being a real threat defensively and offensively. So we'll see. The thing that I liked about that is that they started with defense. So like it's going to take a couple years for Ryan Backer to be a dominant defenseman. It's going to take a couple years for Mailloux to be a dominant defenseman. It's going to take a couple years for all defensemen to be like dominant. But we already have Gooley, who's in his second year, I think, at the NHL level. Matheson, who has a lot of experience. Obviously Savard, but it's his last year next season. But it's going to, like, they have time to develop while we build the top 6, and everything should mesh together at one point. So that's the way I see it. So Montreal's not looking too bad. Anaheim is looking great. Yeah, but I think Columbus is my favorite. I think Columbus is in the best position. Like, they have a lot coming, but not that much coming, but they have some good stuff coming, and they have a great top 6 and a great top 4, just like Buffalo. So I think those two are the best rebuilder. But the thing is that Buffalo have been rebuilding for like 13 years, while Columbus has made the playoff like 3 years ago, something like that. So yeah, that is it. That was long, and that was a little bit all over the place. I'll try to make the things a little bit more organized in the future. I thought it was organized, but it wasn't that much. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you agree or if you disagree, or if you think that I missed some players. I mean, there's so many players in every prospect pool and on every team that it's for sure I made mistakes placed, and there's player that I misevaluated or something like that. If you have an opinion on that, just let me know, and I will answer. On that, have a good day. Thank you for watching or listening. See you in the next one. Peace.